In COVID-19 lockdown, I was looking through some old images, looking for inspiration, and I came across this one, and I thought, oh, not done anything like that for a long time. Actually, this is the original. This was a shot of Sir Frederick Pyle taken at Bitten, and the composite image was made for a camera club competition back in 2004. I thought, oh, I've not done that for a while, I'll have another go at this. I had a look at it in Photoshop. And I'd saved it flat, so I couldn't really remember what to do. So I thought, right, I shall have a go at doing something similar. This is the image I decided to use as the basis for the montage. So the first thing I did was open it in a program I have called Dynamic Auto Painter, and in Dynamic Auto Painter I produced a sketch version of the picture, and here it is. Now what I want to do now is overlay this version with the original, and to do that I take its background layer and drag it into the other image, and there we go. So I can now shut this one down. So there we are. So we don't get confused, I generally, if I'm going to use a lot of layers as I am with this this project, double click on the layer title, and I'm going to call this colour. I can spell colour. Colour sketch. Then I can find that layer again if I need to. Now I'm going to make a copy of this layer, because I'm now going to change it into a black and white layer. So I'm going to just drag that down to the new layer icon, and we've got colour sketch copy, and this is going to be a mono sketch. Now it's not mono yet, obviously, so I'm going to activate the layer, and I'm going to do an adjustment layer. So I click the adjustment layer and I'm going to turn it into black and white. So we've got a black and white adjustment layer, and there it is. Now when you do a layer like this, it applies to all the layers under it. So if I turn the mono sketch off like that, you see that the colour sketch now appears mono as well, and if I click that off, the background looks mono as well. And in this case I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do here is click this top layer and create a clipping mask, which will make it just apply to the layer immediately under it. So if I now do the same thing, if I turn the mono sketch off now, you see that the colour sketch remains as it was, which is what I want. On reflection, I'm finding that mono a little bit flat, so I'm going to put another layer in it. I'm going to put another adjustment layer in, and I'm going to put a hue and saturation adjustment. No, I'm not going to put a curves adjustment layer in. I'm going to pull the bottom end of the curve down a bit, and the top end will curve up a bit to get a little bit more contrast in there. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now if you look at the curves again, that will apply to all the layers below, and I just want to apply it again to the mono sketch. So if I right click it again, create a clipping mask, and you see these two clipping masks have the little down arrow, so they only apply to the layer below. So if I now turn the mono sketch off, you see that the layer below is as it was originally. Okay, now you see here on the right hand side of the layers, we've got these things that are called layer masks, and I'm going to use those in a minute, but not yet. I want actually a layer mask on the mono sketch, so I'm going to activate the mono sketch layer, click the layer mask item, and there's the mask, and the fact that it's got a little white line around it shows that it's active. So I'm now going to paint on that. I'm going to paint on with my brush. If you right click over the tools, you see what's hiding in there, and the one I want of course is the brush tool. I'm going to use a large brush. I can increase the size of the brush by clicking the right hand square bracket, and decreasing by clicking the left hand square bracket. And I'm using a soft edge brush so that the edge of what I paint seems not to be sharp. It's nice and soft. So I'm going to paint in the foreground colour, which I want to be black. It's white at the minute. Now to change it, I can click these arrows like so, or I can press the X key. If I press X, you see the foreground and background colours swap over. So I want black at the front like that. So I'm now painting on the layer mask, and I'm painting at opacity. You can change the opacity of the brush. I'm going to actually paint 100% to start with, so I'm going to start at the side and paint on the mask, which allows the background to show through. I'm going to paint something like that. Shall I have all the front yellow? Yes, I think so. I don't really want that corner to be coloured, so I'm going to swap the foreground colour again. Press X to make it white, and I'm going to paint on this bit up here to make it mono again. Right, so I'm happy with that. And you can see on the layer mask the bits where I've painted. I'm going to paint in black again, press X, and I'm going to go over this bit. And if you look at the mask, you can see the bits you've done and the bits you've not done. So I'm going to do that sort of thing. Okay, so that'll do. Now, I want some of the people on here and some of the front of the local to look a bit sharper. So I'm going to click the colour sketch icon, layer, and put a layer mask in, and I'm going to paint on that layer in black to let some of the original through. Now I paint with 100%. You can see it makes the the original very sharp. I don't really want that, so I'm going to go over it in white again. So press X, paint back over, so we all put it all back in again. There we go. And I'm going to paint over it with a brush that's not 100%, so I'm going to change the opacity to 50%-ish. And I'm going to paint in black, so I press X, put the foreground colour to black, and I'm going to paint over the front of the logo. And that sharpens it a little bit. There's a little bit of the background layer to show through. Now the people here, I want some of them to look a bit sharper, so I'm going to paint over this group at 50%. So they look a bit sharper now. See what they. This lady here, I want her sharper still, so I'm going to paint over her at say 85%. So she's now a bit sharper. This bit in the middle I want somewhere in between, so I'm going to paint that over at, change it to X to go back a bit. So I'm reasonably happy with that. So that finishes the main picture as I want it to appear. What I'm going to do now is enlarge the canvas. So I'm going to go image, canvas size, and I'm going to make it a centimetre bigger all around, so I'm going to make it 29 and 19 centimetres there. I'm going to fill with the background colour, which is white. That's okay, there we go. Now I want a black line around here, so I'm going to click on the background. Now I'm going to click on the colour sketch and use the magic wand to select the border. I'm going to stroke, image, edit size, stroke, 8 pixels in black. So we've got black round both. Okay. I now want to put on a couple of pencils and rubber onto the sketch. And to facilitate that, I've taken a photograph of some pencils and rubber. And there they are. Now I've already done some work on this. If you look on the right hand side, you'll see there's some layers here. But I've one still to do as an example. I'm using the latest version of Photoshop. And if I hover over here, you see there's an object selection tool. Now if you haven't got this, you just select the part of the image using the selection tool that you would normally use. But I'm using this, and I can use it in a lasso mode or in a rectangle mode. And because of the shape of this, I'm going to use the lasso mode, and all I do is draw a rough selection round it, and Photoshop will select the pencil. I'm going to feather the selection. No, I'm not. First of all, I'm going to contract it just a couple of pixels to try and avoid the white line around the edge of the selection. So that's a couple. Now I'm going to feather it. Select, modify, feather it a couple of pixels. Okay. Now I'm going to press Ctrl C to copy it. That's the selection, and Ctrl V to paste it. And now you'll see that it's appeared over here in the layer palette as layer 1, and I'm going to call this by double clicking it. I'm going to call it yellow pencil, and I'm going to put a drop shadow on it. So I'm going to put a drop shadow on it by clicking FX down here. Those are all the things I can do to it, to the layer. I'm going to put a drop shadow on it. And there's a drop shadow dialog, so I can adjust the angle, the opacity, but this is done to match the ones I've already done. So you can see the opacity is 29, distance 55, size 13, so I'm happy with that drop shadow, so I click OK. Right, so I'm going to make all the others visible again now. So that's the whole thing. So back to the main sketch now. Now I want to import the pencils onto the main image. Before I do it, I'm just going to activate the top layer. I'm going to look at my pencils. There they are. I'm going to drag this down into the window like that, so I can see the other window underneath. Now, there's the rubber. If I press Control, I can include the blue pencil, yellow pencil. Now, to get them into the main image, I just drag the lot like so. I can now shut down the image there, and you can see that the pencils and the rubber are now in the image. If I click and move to, I can move them about. I think first of all I'm going to go Control T to transform. I'm going to reduce the size of the pencils and the rubber and do them all at once. It's quicker. Probably do them about that size. So press Enter to confirm the transform. Now I'm going to do them individually. I'm going to activate the rubber icon, the rubber layer first, and I'm going to do Control T for the rubber. There it is. I find it a bit big in relationship to the pencil, so I'm going to make it small and move it, and I'm going to put it down here. Yeah, down there. There we go. And press Enter. Confirm its position. You'll notice that when we brought the pencils and the rubber across, the drop shadows came with them, which was quite good. Now I'm going to do the pencil as well, so activate pencil, Control T for the pencil, and I can move that down so, and I'm going to have it overlapping the border just a little bit there. Press Enter. Same thing with the blue pencil, Control T, transform. You could go edit transform as well, that's the same thing. And I shall now move this down to here, and I want to adjust the angle of that a bit, so it's Enter 2. Then I'm going to go edit, transform, rotate, and I can just spin it round a bit, get it where I want it, and still move it about. And there we go. Enter to confirm it, and that's the pencils and the rubber placed. So I can now do a file, save as. I'm going to save it on my computer. I'm going to save it into short videos, into the montage. I'm going to call it Banger. Montage complete. I'm saving this as a PSD, saves all the layers. So if I want to come back and alter anything, I can do. And that's that. You see that the file size is now, if you look it down here, you see the file size is now 56.7 megabytes, whereas it started off as 14.5. Now the thing's complete, I can flatten it. So if I go, get the keystroke for flattening the layer, anyway, it's up here with layer. There isn't a keystroke, that's why I can't remember it. Flatten image, and the whole thing flattens down, so we're back down to a 14.5 megabyte file. And I can do file, save as. Won't just save again, it'll overwrite the other one, save as. Save on the computer. And we'll call it, instead of complete, Banger montage. Save, and there we go, and it's ready for printing.